Hey there, welcome. We really appreciate you being with us today at this at our microdose webinar. The official name, well, I don't even have the official name in front of me, but I think it's 6 reasons that microdosing could be right for you. And I've got along with me Dr. Denise Moret, who is my friend and colleague, and also a doctor of psychology and understands and is extremely experienced with plant medicine. So, hey, Dr. Denise, how are you? How you doing?
Hi, Dr. Dave. Nice to be here. I'm so glad. I've been looking forward to us doing this for quite a while. And I know before we actually started recording, we were talking about, just being grateful for everyone being here and making the time for themselves. And it's going to be about an hour or so. Lots of really great information. There'll be an option to ask some questions and um, we won't be actually reading a lot in the chat because we're paying attention to you and what we're saying, and it's kind of hard to read the chat. But there'll be opportunities, especially if you run into a technical problem, or there will be opportunities to ask some questions.
Let's yeah, I'm glad you brought up chat. So there are two possibilities for you to get a hold of us. One of them, as Dr. Denise just said, there's a chat box, and if you just kind of scroll your mouse down, at least if you're on a PC or a Mac or something, and you'll see there's a chat box, and you can actually, if you want to go in there now, real quickly while we're getting started, and just say hello to us, and you can even say where you're from. It's we'd love to see where you're from. As Dr. Denise said, it's very difficult for us to read a lot of it during the webinar while we're presenting, but if you want to come in there and say hello, we'd love to say hi to you there. Also, there is a Q&A box. So if you go down and also scroll down and it says just Q&A, you can ask questions and we will go ahead and let's see. It looks like Kate already asked a question. So we had a couple questions already. That's so cool. So thanks for that. We're going to keep that going. And when we get into the second part of the webinar, we're going to go ahead and answer as many questions as possible. I don't know if anybody said nobody's chatting it. Nobody said hello. Nobody, I don't know. Maybe I don't have it on the right setting. Let me go ahead and let's see. Attendees
Hey,
control.
Dr. Dave. Dr. Dave.
Yeah.
I know you and I can see the chat, but one person in the Q&A said that the chat appears to be disabled.
I
So,
think I just enabled. I think I just
oh,
enabled.
okay,
So try
okay.
now, guys. Try now to see. I'll just say hello. There you go. Hello from Louisiana. Hey, Jeremy, how are you doing, my friend? Jeremy's from Louisiana. We know Jeremy very well. He's part of, and my wife taught me this word, nakama. Nakama means kind of like our tribe, our group of people, our people that are all together here with like-minded interests. We feel like a big family. So we're all nakama. Oh, now they're coming in quickly. They're coming in so quickly. I can't. Hi from Boston. Hey, from let's see, from Brian from Hershey, Pennsylvania, where the Hershey chocolate factory is. Yeah, I know that place. Gina from Toronto, Canada, Elk River, Idaho. We got Amber. So this is really cool. We're loving it. Now, also, I think I mentioned that we have a Q&A box also, so people are already typing questions in. We are going to get to as many questions as possible in the second part of this webinar. So we should probably get it going because I don't want to spend as much as we love you guys. I don't want to spend the whole. Wow, we got so many: Montreal, Canada, Florida, um, Williston, Vermont. So that's so cool. But let's get started, and we'll read this. It's going to be hard for us to read the chat box along the way, but we're going to do our best to also answer questions. So keep those questions coming, guys. So okay, got a little bit of a very loose outline here. Just number one, we already said hello to everybody. We explained. By the way, you are anonymous here, so please don't worry if a lot of people are concerned that they don't want to be seen on a microdosing webinar. So unless you chat or unless you ask a question, you're totally anonymous. And trust me, even if you chat and ask a question, this is not going out to anybody else, so you don't have to really worry about that. Want to make this very clear at the beginning, and you know this all. Nothing that Dr. Denise Moret and I talk about during this webinar, or even on my podcast or in our Facebook group, nothing is to be taken as medical advice. We're talking about our experiences and sharing what we've been doing. And if you choose to, try anything, that's totally great, but it's not medical advice. We totally recommend that you share this and are honest with your healthcare professionals, and because the more that people know about what you're doing, especially the healthcare professionals, it's better for everybody. Don't try to hide anything. And also, we highly recommend that you only use magic mushrooms, psilocybin, in an area where it is legal or decriminalized and safe. So we want you all to be safe. Just be careful out there. We're going to give you the best webinar we possibly can. Um, okay, I'm gonna throw it over to you, Dr. Denise. There.
Okay. So, and one clarification point that I like to make is that a lot of us know there've been Netflix shows, the Fantastic Fungi film. There's lots of people that are doing webinars and all kinds of trainings. It is absolutely safe and totally within the law to discuss these things. So yes, it's very important to know that we follow the rules and the legal, the legalities, and yet having these informative types of webinars is absolutely legal and safe to do. So just in case, because some people are concerned, we've gotten some messages about that, like, are they sort of doing something wrong and showing up from where they are? So of course you're not. I did want to again mention, we talked about a little bit before we were recording, maybe before you got on here. We are going to have a little gift at the end, so we'll tell you a little bit about that as we get moving along here. So that'll be, stay on here. We're not going to be on too long, but stay on because you want to get that absolutely, to get that gift. It'll be really helpful, very useful.
Excellent. And as I start my podcasts, that you all that follow my podcast, you know that I always start off with a singing bowl. And I have this with me right here, but Denise told me that, and I've run into this problem before, like on Zoom, for some reason, you can't hear it. So I'm not going to do it. It's up just, we're here. Well, I'll give you the energy of the singing bowl, but it doesn't really, the audio somehow doesn't really come across. So just know that I'm thinking about you guys. I brought the singing bowl, but it doesn't work on Zoom, so we won't do it. But let's actually get started with the real program. Let's talk about, because some people are brand new to magic mushrooms. As a matter of fact, I think I put a I tried to mess with this, see if it works. I tried to put a poll in there and see if this works now. If I can get to it, where did it go? Q&A, raise hand. I don't see it now. I had a poll and I asked a question, and I was curious to know how many of you have actually tried magic mushrooms at some point. But now I don't see the poll, so I don't know where it went. Can't see. Oh, polls quizzes. Here we go. Oh yeah. So I think if I launch it, it will work. Yeah, you can go on there and answer it at your convenience. Again, this is totally confidential, and as Dr. Denise said, it's totally fine to talk about this stuff. So please don't worry about anything. We're just here getting some information to you, having some fun. But for those of you that have never tried magic mushrooms or have not tried them yet, what exactly are magic mushrooms? So you probably know magic mushrooms are a species, or many species, actually, not just one, but many species. They're grown all over the world naturally. They've been used for at least 10 or tens of thousands of years by indigenous human beings all over the planet. And they have a substance called a chemical in them called psilocybin. And psilocybin is the actual psychedelic substance, that the chemical that actually will go to work in your system. And if you eat a lot of it, it'll make you feel high. It'll make you feel like you're like going on a psychedelic trip, seeing enhanced colors, patterns. But when you use magic mushrooms as a microdose, which, by the way, a microdose is typically about 1/10 of a psychedelic dose. 1/10. I don't really like to use the word um, party dose or recreational dose, because Dr. Denise and I really believe in this medicine, and I look at it as a sacred medicine that was put on this planet for a reason. I don't like to refer to it as partying and that's that type of thing. So I will say, as a 1/10 of a psychedelic dose is a microdose. I won't get into doses really on this webinar because that's a little bit deep, but suffice to say, it's a very, very small amount of psilocybin that you can ingest on a regular basis, and it will give you incredible, incredible benefits, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So, yeah, I talked about what microdosing is, what magic mushrooms are. The most common strain, or I would say species, the most common species of magic mushroom is called, and there's not going to be a quiz, don't worry about that. It's called psilocybe cubensis. And within psilocybe cubensis, there are many different strains, but that's like the main one that people use for the psychedelic effects and and also for the microdosing effects. So that's kind of just a really brief overview of magic mushrooms, what they are. Psilocybin is the active component, active compound found within magic mushrooms. So Dr. Denise, why don't you go ahead and take it away and we'll talk a little bit about how, just real briefly, how we do microdose, how we actually use this medicine.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. And what's very important for people to understand, microdose means it's a, as Dr. Dave said, it is like about 1/10 of what would it be, a macro dose? We don't say party dose, but when people say they really felt that they were like tripping, it's about a 20th, actually even less, a 10th to a 20th of that. That's why we call it a microdose. And we say it's like sub-perceptible. What we mean by that is you can go about your normal activities. Now, sometimes you're going to maybe feel a little clarity, a little more energy. If you're starting out, we always recommend that you do dose at a time and a day that you don't have to be anywhere, you don't have to drive, have any responsibilities, just so that you can kind of really be with your experience. It's going to be perfectly safe. We just want people to really dial in and pay attention and um, just be mindful and be noticing exactly what they're experiencing. It does help you kind of over time know, oh, if I take this much, if I go up, if I go down, if I'm on this particular strain versus that, it does help you kind of get that information. So a lot of questions we get are about, what exactly is it and is it safe? There's a lot of misinformation out there. And it's really important to know that, especially with even macrodosing, mushrooms is safe, but you're taking such a tiny, tiny amount. It's extremely safe. There are some research studies, there's some information. People get very concerned. You'll come across, if you Google, you will come across so many articles that say things that, for the most part, are simply not true. They make these sort of assumptions. I read an article recently that said, well, since psilocybin is a psychedelic and other psychedelics cause these problems, we have to assume that psilocybin is going to cause those same problems. And it just doesn't. So it's extremely a very safe substance. And let's get into some of what would make somebody actually want to microdose. Like, you're curious, you're interested. What's it going to do for you?
So
And,
hey,
and
let's hey, one second. I would just want to to your point there. I just want to add, if it's okay, I want to add a couple things to what you just said. First of all, as far as being safe, it is one of the safest, like you said, it's one of the safest substances as far as plant medicines on the planet. And you can't really, I don't know if you said this, Denise, but you can't overdose on it. I mean, you could take a ton, and not that we recommend that at all. We're not going on record and saying you should do that, but you can take like a truckload of it, and you likely won't die or have any like ill effects. The only thing you're going to do, again, that's why we're not recommending, is you'll have a heck of a trip, which is probably not going to be really pleasant because you've taken so much. But the good thing about this is it's not going to it's not going to have it, you're not going to have any adverse health effects or death or anything like that from an overdose. Also, it's not addictive. Psychedelics or magic mushrooms are not addictive. You will never get addicted to these, and that's why and there's a lot more that goes into it, but it's one of the safest plant medicines on this planet. And real quickly, Denise, before you get into let's get into the 6 reasons that microdosing magic mushrooms might be good for you. Just real quickly too, a lot of people that haven't really microdosed yet are probably wondering, well, how do I do this, in what form? And we always recommend dried mushrooms dried, ground up mushrooms in capsule form. And the reason, why do we do that? Why do we say you shouldn't just take a bite off of a magic mushroom and call it a day and microdose? Because the psilocybin is actually distributed unevenly through these mushrooms. There could be more psilocybin distributed in the cap of the mushroom. There might be more in the stalk or whatever that, that part. So it's always uneven. And if you take just a little bite off of one, it's possible you could get like a really, really heavy dose and not need it or not want it or and not know it. And on the other hand, you might take a bite and you might get nothing. So that's why we recommend grinding them. You don't have to do this. Your grower can do this for you. By the way, we never talk about sourcing, but when they're ground up, dried, ground up, and evenly, the psilocybin is evenly dispersed, and then when it's put into the capsules, then you're practically guaranteed to get an even dose every single time. So I just wanted to cover that real quickly, Denise, and go back and let's go ahead and get started now on the six reasons that microdosing could be really good for you if you're watching this right now. If you haven't really started, if you started, you know that it is probably, but if you haven't started, we'll talk about six reasons. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay, Dave. Thanks very much. In fact, I'm following along here, and I appreciate that. It's very easy to kind of lose our spot in what, so we check each other, which is really great. So, I talking about safety, I talking about why would anybody do this? And I think one of the most common, biggest reasons, and especially as a psychologist, this is very much my work, that there's some sort of mental health issue, anxiety, depression, trauma, um, any kind of anxiety, really any issue that could plague any of us. There might be very common and very successful treating people who are suffering from addictions, alcoholism, even addictions to like being on the internet or gaming or something like that. Obsessive compulsive thinking. We can't stop that sort of on and on in our brains. Also, people who have we'll call them nervous system issues like Parkinson's. It's been used very successful in people who have had like stroke, and it helps them kind of heal quicker. And Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that. It is I just want to make one note, and I saw it quickly. I can sometimes see some of the questions, so I don't know if this, but we had some questions before the webinar, and people will often ask, isn't it dangerous to take psilocybin, if you have bipolar, if you have some, psychological issues? And again, that's just not the case. In fact, there's research showing that psilocybin is very helpful for people with bipolar, manic, even some of the schizophrenic type of disorders, under the guidance, of course, with all of the providers, and really looking at how to really dial that in. So any of those issues, and really so much more. In fact, physical pain is another one. People, I had, psilocybin, magic mushrooms are an anti-inflammatory. So I have a little bit of osteoarthritis, and in my years of microdosing, it's gotten better. It's almost gone, in fact. So those are some of the conditions or symptoms people might be experiencing that it can be helped by magic mushrooms.
Yeah, pretty powerful because I would say that the most common reason that people start getting interested in microdosing magic mushrooms, and I'm in this category, is because I was suffering a lot of anxiety and some depression and PTSD. So that's really kind of what got me into magic mushrooms. However, if you're taking notes, that was kind of the number one broad category, like we'll just say like mental health issues. But number two is if you want to improve your overall health. And it sounds a little strange, like, magic mushrooms are going to really help me improve my overall health. Well, in a way, yes. Now, those of you that follow my podcast, I just recently did a 3-part series. It was called like 3 years of microdosing, and I pretty in great detail explained that each year kind of became a little different. These mushrooms are teachers, and they guided me in the first year to they helped my mental health. My anxiety was pretty much all but gone in the first year. The second year became, well, I'll get into that in a second, but because that's one of our categories here. But the third year um, was my physical health. And so you might say, well, how did magic mushrooms help your physical health? Well, again, they are teachers. It sounds hokey. When I first started microdosing and started getting into this world, I said, like, that sounds just ridiculous. Come on, just give me the mushrooms and shut up. I don't want to hear how they're teachers. But the truth is, they really are. They kind of guide you to learn things and discover things about yourself and about others and about the world. So I started discovering things about my health that they really started improving. When I first started, I was having some blood pressure issues, and that was mainly from sleep apnea and from anxiety. And I had a lot of other like pain and just all kinds of stuff that were terrible things that were going on in my body. But by year three, I swear to you, by year three, these issues, these medical issues are all but gone. I sleep better. I've got zero pain in my body. My blood pressure is down to normal. It's been an amazing 3-year ride. So, and I also, but in saying that, I want to say that anybody that's here that thinks that um, using magic mushrooms and microdosing them is going to be an overnight cure, well, you're in the wrong place. It's just not. If anybody tells you that you can cure yourself and fix yourself overnight or in a few days, it's just not true. But I will tell you this, it's well worth the wait because it's been an incredible ride. And even from the beginning, I started feeling better. But over 3 years, let me tell you something. I feel unbelievable. And so I'm going to get into category three now. You want to become more focused, motivated, more productive in your work, more productive in your business, hobbies, sports, and even more. I feel more focused now than I can remember in my life. I just feel like when I do things, I'm better at them. I do them with more clarity. And I'll give you an example of sports. This sounds kind of crazy. And when I first started microdosing, I never thought I'd be talking about this, but I microdose generally before I go skiing. I live here in Utah. I'm in Salt Lake City. I'm looking up at the mountains right over there now. And I ski, a decent amount every winter. But when I started microdosing in the morning before a ski day, I feel like I can ski better. I see things better. I can see the moguls better. This is the best ski season of my life. And last year wasn't so great. I was still having a lot of pain because the mushrooms hadn't worked on my physical well-being yet. But now everything's coming together, and I'm out there skiing. I use a skateboard. I feel like a 20-year-old kid sometimes, and I can't say that 100% of it is due to the magic mushrooms, but a lot of it really is. So again, that's number three: clarity for work, business, hobby, sports, etc. Denise, take it away for number four now.
So, interestingly, just in fact, number four is about like deepening and increasing, enhancing other experiences in your life. And just so happens today, I went to a sound bath Reiki session. And it was the first time I'd done anything like that. I've done sound bath. It's like this, like the bowl that Dr. Dave has there, and it's very, very involved. And there's all kinds of things. And I was in the middle, and they put them on me. At the same time, the practitioner did Reiki. I've had Reiki before, but the two of those combined for 90 minutes, and of course, I did do a microdose. It opened up so much within me. The combination of that was, oops, just looking at the poll there, it's very high in the yes category. So, when people will say, well, why does that work? Why does it deepen the experience? What happens? So there's an awareness and an opening that psilocybin creates, and it's going to dial in healing, but it's also going to open your awareness, your experience. So you may feel things, you may see things, not again, not like the ways people are seeing things like they're having a psychedelic experience, but you just really can appreciate if you've been too busy and oh, that's a really nice sunset, but you're busy, you're not really taking it in. So what microdosing does is you're going to really notice it, you're really going to take it in. And another thing, that I just wanted to add that's sort of related to one of the others, but the healing, people ask me oftentimes, well, why does it do that? Why does it heal things physically, psychologically? And there's a lot that we don't know, but what we do know is that it does change the way we're wired. And it does actually change our nerve endings, our nerve cells. And so that's explains sometimes why the physical benefits, the health benefits that Dr. Dave was just talking about actually happen. So increasing and deepening your other experiences. Like I said, whether you're meditating, you're just going to go to more and more levels and have like a kind of a exponential benefit from these different things that you're doing because the mushrooms working together with what you're doing. And then I'll move right into five, which is sort of related to that, but a little more specific, where when you're psilocybin will help you in your increased awareness be a little more maybe open, mindful, spiritual. You maybe want to get, maybe you're doing fine and, you don't have a particular mental health issue or physical health issue, but you want to sort of say, like, what I want to deepen my awareness of myself. I want to kind of understand what's happening. Maybe I get some answers. A lot of times people say, I don't know, it sounds a little weird, but people say, I asked the mushrooms for their guidance. Mushrooms are so wise. I mean, not just psychedelic mushrooms, mushrooms in general. I really encourage people to watch the Fantastic Fungi film. I believe it's still available on Netflix for free. We have mushrooms that eat plastic. We have mushrooms that are just they create the mycelium network so that it keeps the health of our forests and really the health of the planet. So it really does that. And psychedelic mushrooms obviously are mushrooms, and they're doing that as well with the psilocybin.
So number six, and I think I just when you were speaking, Denise, I came up with the number seven. I want to share too because there's something that I think we may have left out that's pretty important. But I want to so I'll give we're going to give you seven. We're going to give you a bonus. We're not going to do just six. We'll give you seven. But number six, this is a really big one. I think this has changed my life so much. But it's if you want to be kinder and more connected with not only people but animals and the planet and the universe. And again, it sounds a little bit strange. It sounds a little bit out there. It sounds a little bit new agey, but I feel more connected now. I feel kinder. I know in the past, not that I wasn't kind, but if somebody shot me like a nasty email and like accused me of something or just like one of we get these all the time, either emails or texts, and they're just not right. In the past I would shoot back an answer like, how dare you say that to me, or whatever. Nowadays I'm kinder. I take a step back. I think like, well, maybe they didn't mean it like that. Maybe I don't want to misinterpret. So I've learned that sometimes the less you say, the better it is and the kinder it is. And you don't always have to have a response to everything. You just kind of sit back and let somebody vent, and that's okay. But the magic mushrooms have really taught me a lot of that because, again, I wasn't really like that before. I feel just so much more connected to people and in a kind way. And I've always been connected to animals, but I think more now and the planet. I love it. It's a really, really good feeling. But number seven, which I'll add in there kind of as a bonus bullet point, a bonus number is, and I think Denise, you started to touch on this, and that's what actually reminded me of this. So we didn't put this in there. We should have. But if you are if you're taking some type of an SSRI now, if you're taking an anti-anxiety, any kind of medication, um, I'm not against pharmaceuticals. They have their place. I was on pharmaceuticals for quite some time and they kind of helped. And they helped maybe, I'm guessing, I don't know, 50%. And that's a win. 50% could be a win for somebody that's really rock bottom. And if you could be 50% better, that's not bad. But in my life, I didn't want to be 50% better. I wanted to be 100% better or 1,000% better. So I really do believe that magic mushrooms are better. Now, remember, this is not medical advice. And if you're on an SSRI or some type of medication, I'm not telling you to get off of your medication without your doctor's approval. I'm not telling you that. And there's a definite protocol to do this, which is probably beyond the scope of today's webinar because it's a little more complicated. But magic mushrooms, psilocybin has it actually rewires your brain. It changes your neural pathways. It actually makes you better. It fixes you. Whereas, an antidepressant, all it does is it gets a little more serotonin into your brain, and that's okay. Anti-anxieties will relax you more, but they're not fixing anything. The minute you get off of those medications or short time after, you're going to be back to where you were. Nothing's fixed, nothing's cured. Whereas magic mushrooms will change the way you're wired and they will fix you. They will cure you. And that's why I think for me, it's no pun intended here. It's a no brainer. I mean, it's the only solution that I've ever come up with in my entire life that really works. It has made me feel the way that I think I'm supposed to be feeling every single day. So we promised 6, we gave 7. I always believe in under promising and over delivering. It's always a good thing. There could be things we left out. This is not meant to be all inclusive. Again, like I said at the very beginning when we first started recording, we're two friends of yours sitting down on the sofa in a living room and talking to you informally, and whatever we cover. We try to do our best, but there might be some things we miss, but we'll pick it up another time. It's okay. There's no problem. But I think we promised to answer questions. So I think, Denise, we should get in and start looking at some questions.
Yeah.
Do the best
While
we can
you're
to answer.
while you're just queuing up the questions, I just wanted to just say one more thing about the sort of pharmaceuticals and magic mushrooms actually rewiring, and that is the part that magic mushrooms are going to direct you right to the root cause and what's going on, what's the cause of the emotional struggle, the depression, the anxiety, whatever's happening, or even the physical pain. So the mushrooms dial in and go right to the root cause so that you can heal it. So the source of the pain is the source of the healing. So if you have a knee pain, you don't take an aspirin and forget about it. I mean, you might to have some relief, but you still got to really go in there and say, what's causing the knee pain? So the same thing with the mushrooms. It's going to really direct you toward the very, very source of what's going on and change that and show you the path. And again, you have to do the work alongside that, and that's beyond what we're going to talk about today, but there's a lot that you can do to work alongside what the mushrooms are doing and understanding the path and what the mushrooms are saying to do, and then knowing how to kind of fine tune it all.
So I'll segue. I've got a really good segue from that, Denise, from taking an aspirin for pain to, we have a question here from Michael Novick. He's one of our Nakama for sure. Know Michael really well through the group and everything. And Michael asks, should I stop microdosing pre and post hip replacement surgery? That's a really good question. I don't think we've ever, I take questions on the podcast a lot. I don't think I've ever had a question like that, but I'm going to go ahead and take that one because it's interesting. I'm going to give you a couple different answers here. Number one, again, I know I keep repeating myself. I don't have to, but I just do out of habit. This is not medical advice. So what we're telling you is our opinion and our experience. But I had a really interesting thing that happened to me about, it was early on in my microdosing journey. So it's probably at least 2 years ago or so. I had an umbilical hernia repair. And on the intake form, they asked me, all the questions, what kind of medication you're on, all about your health. And I did fill it out honestly. And I said, one of the things I do is I microdose magic mushrooms. I made it very clear that I microdose magic mushrooms. Well, the next day before the surgery it was like a couple days before the surgery. I got a call from the anesthesiologist's office, and they said, what do you mean? We can't put you to sleep if you're using magic mushrooms. This is against our protocol. We can't do this surgery. No, you're. And so I said, look, I said, hey, hold on a second. I am microdosing. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny dose. And I tried to explain as best I could. And they finally said, okay, we will do it as long as you promise not to use these magic mushrooms from now until the surgery. And then afterwards, whatever you want to do is fine. But the anesthesiologist is very concerned. So my long answer to your question, sorry about that for ranting, is I personally do not feel there's any problem with using magic mushrooms at the time of a surgery. They're not going to affect bleeding or anything like that. However, I do think it's important to let the anesthesiology department, or on your intake form, let them know. Again, be honest. I was transparent. I was honest. I didn't want to hold anything back. However, again, if you are microdosing, it's a microdose, and I don't think it's going to affect anything whatsoever. But I still am of the opinion, let the docs know, let them know, and talk the language that lets them know that you know what you're talking about. But it's a minuscule dose, and That's up to you. But again, that's probably what I do, and that is what I did, and everything turned out fine. My surgery went fine. The anesthesia was totally fine, zero problem. But that's my long answer to your question, Michael. Thanks for asking. It's a great question, and I hope you do well with your hip replacement surgery too, my friend.
Yeah, and if I could just add that we know that mushrooms, microdose, and even higher doses leave the system within the day. So the healing happens, the rewiring happens, but it's not unlike other substances that are in your bloodstream, an antidepressant or cannabis, which really is in your system for a very long time. Mushrooms are not in your system, so they're not going to interfere with anesthesia. But absolutely agree that it's important to be very transparent with your surgical team there and let them know. And I just want to add, again, not medical advice, but we're me, and I have certainly had my share of procedures and surgeries, and a lot of them have been like on knees and joints and stuff like that. The microdosing, I believe, really helped me with the healing, honestly, because it's an anti-inflammatory, and because as we're starting to find, things are re-innovating, meaning, the nerve system is healing and finding its way, kind of creating those new connections. Oh, I have a new hip or a new knee, and the nervous system has to adjust to that. So the just like it helps with stroke victims and other sort of medical situations in the body, it's definitely going to help with the healing. So it's a very good thing to do, particularly after, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I was going to say something about that, but I was clicking off another question that I just saw that we are that. So I can't remember. I can't remember what I was going to say, but it was probably not that important. One thing though, if I hadn't said anything to the anesthesiology department on the intake form, if I hadn't said it, I would have been totally fine. So again, use your own discretion. It's up to you. I always like to let them know, but I think if I hadn't, I would be, it would be okay, totally fine. So you want to take one, or do you want me to take another? Up to you. If you have one ready, Denise, or if you want me to, if you're not ready with one, I'll
Why
be.
don't you take one and I'll get one ready?
Sounds like a deal.
I wasn't looking.
That sounds like a deal. First of all, Amber said she said this under the Q&A, which it's not really a question, but I'm in Elk River, Idaho in a blizzard. Well, we hope you're safe, Amber. We hope you're safe in your warm home or somewhere. So please be careful and don't send it. Well, no, actually send it our way. We could always use a little more snow here. We love it. So let's see. Check that one off that we did that one. Teresa. Hi, I'm Terry, and I'm wondering how to get off SSRIs while microdosing. It's a great question. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this webinar because it takes a little bit longer to explain that, and I don't want to spend the entire rest of the time talking about that. However, Teresa, I will tell you this, and I'm glad you asked the question because a very commonly asked question is, I'm starting to microdose. Should I get off my SSRI before I start or while I'm microdosing? Should I wait? And emphatically, 100%, you need to wait until you start microdosing. And as you get into it, then there's a whole protocol. I did it myself. I kind of came up with my own protocol for doing it, but I didn't start weaning myself off of my SSRI until I was about 8 months into my microdosing. So I didn't rush anything. This is something that you don't want to rush because you want to make sure the microdosing is really working and you're feeling really good. And you'll feel a difference. You'll feel a difference, but you'll still be on your antidepressant, your SSRI. But then again, I took about 8 months, and my protocol for weaning. Maybe we can do it on a future webinar because it would take much more time. But I did it over a fairly long period of time, and once I weaned off and it was totally off, it was like just the greatest feeling ever because no more SSRI. The microdosing, the mushrooms were doing their work, and that's when the real stuff starts happening. So you're gonna be there, Teresa. You're gonna be there, but don't get off of them before you start microdosing. That would be a big mistake, and a lot of people do make the mistake, and it's not a good one.
Great. Okay. I'm doing my technology here. I saw two questions quickly. I apologize if it's not in the order. We will, by the way, we didn't mention this, but we will have, first of all, this is being recorded. Secondly, we will have every single question that people are asking. If we don't get to your answer, we will have those questions. We will get the printout of all of that. or at least an electronic copy of that. And absolutely, as Dr. Dave will say, feel free to reach out to us, especially if we didn't answer your question here today, and we'll have more of these. So the two questions that I was able to look at really quickly, I'll do two since Dr. Dave just did two. So one was, can I tell my healthcare provider? So beyond just if I'm having a procedure, but I like to tell my healthcare providers that I trust everything that's going on in my life. So the question is, can I, especially in a state where it's illegal? And the answer is absolutely yes. And here's why. Your relationship with your healthcare provider is 100% confidential. So, your healthcare provider, you can tell them everything and anything. And the only exception that would leave that confidentiality, that confidential relationship, would be if your life was threatened. In my particular line of work, when people are, making some sort of real clear statement that they are going to harm themselves or somebody else, would I have to sort of break that confidentiality? That doesn't apply to anyone here. That doesn't even apply to what that question's about. But healthcare providers are bound by confidentiality, doctor, patient, confidentiality. So it is absolutely a confidential relationship. If your healthcare provider starts saying, I'm going to report you or this or that, I would be astounded. I would say that healthcare provider is, there's something very wrong with that healthcare provider. So that's not going to happen because your healthcare provider is somebody that you know and trust. And if you already feel that you don't trust them with your information, maybe that's more important than the actual sharing of the information. It's like we want to feel comfortable with our healthcare providers. So, and like Dr. Dave already said, you don't really have to tell them. You may want to, but you probably fine even if you don't. Although I always like to share with my providers everything that I'm doing. The other, another question I can answer really quickly here is: do mushrooms make you nauseous? And yes, sometimes mushrooms will make people nauseous. Certainly, when people take higher doses, macro doses, we've all heard those stories that people get nauseous from that and what to do about that. But even on microdoses, sometimes people will feel a little nauseous. And I can tell you that there's a couple strategies to make sure that doesn't happen. But one of the most common ones, and it's a misperception, is that you don't have to take it on an empty stomach. In fact, a lot of people that report nausea, it is because they didn't have like a light meal, they're not well hydrated. So it is good to have like a nice glass of water, have a light snack, maybe a light meal, wait about 20 or 30 minutes. That's going to most likely, mitigate any nausea. Some people still may have nausea because we're all different. No two people are the same. And then there's some strategies to do like lemon teching and, take different things alongside it. Again, we can get into more of that. Certainly Dr. Dave has lots of podcasts on all that information.
And we'll have a lot more because still trying to do two every week because you guys have so many great questions. I try to get to as many as we can as we're trying to do on this webinar. I don't know if we're going to get to every single question on this webinar, but the ones that we don't get to, we will somehow figure out a way to get your answer to you because I see some really, really good questions here. I'm going to read one here from Anonymous. And we appreciate you being anonymous. Like we say, you can get in here anonymously and totally fine. So Anonymous says, does anyone else see internal change with drawing boundaries around toxic family and friends? I saw this with more confidence after 7 years of getting closer with my family, with a family. I'm not with family whose uncle is a narcissistic and aunt being covert religious narcissistic or narcissist, and their children, my cousins, who are quite egocentric. Well, again, a really good question that we don't see that often, but it's a great one. And I'm gonna say my answer to that is absolutely yes. You will be able to not only draw boundaries, but you will be able to um, free yourself from these people that they're toxic, narcissistic, egomaniacs, egocentric, whatever you however you want to label them. But we don't even have to label it. If somebody is not vibrating on the same vibration or same level as you are. absolutely, you will be able to spot these types of people. You will be able to distance yourself with them. I never recommend wishing anybody any harm. They've probably got their issues themselves. So just distance yourself away from, but it becomes a lot easier and very clear. One of our bullet points here was clarity. You'll see things when you're microdosing with much more clarity. There was just somebody very recently who I was like fairly close with, and I thought this person was a really good person, but I think the mushrooms opened my eyes up and made me realize that this person was not a good person, was not a good fit for me. And in the past, I probably would have let it ride. Oh, they're okay. Well, I'll do the best I can. No, I'm not giving that person when that person crosses these boundaries with me, and I can see they're not right for me, and they're causing harm with me, and they're not good, not a good fit. I will distance myself with them, and I had to do that with this person, and probably not the first and probably not the last. So great question there, anonymous. And the answer is absolutely they're going to help you with stuff like that. And Denise, being a psychologist, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. You don't have to, but that's a psychology question all the way, I think. But
Yeah.
you don't have to add if you have another one ready. It's okay either way.
I can do both. So I'll just add
Yeah.
that absolutely, we still feel what we feel, the toxic people that are around us. But what happens is it's sort of like instead of it going like oh, I can't stand this toxic person, it's like we probably draw better boundaries and don't spend as much time with that person, but we also just don't respond the same. It doesn't feel as stressful, it doesn't escalate the angst or the kind of trigger, it's just not there. So it's sort of like, oh, that really bothers me, but yeah, it's not going to go up where it used to. So it helps me sort of not participate. I just feel like I'm over here and that person's doing that thing. Whereas before microdosing, I might be like, oh no, and like literally feel like I was kind of getting yanked around. Not now. That just doesn't happen. So it really does psychologically open you up and give you so much choice, and relationships improve. And I'll tell you, people respond to the different energy that we exhibit. Even if they don't change and they don't know, they go, oh, that's not going the same. And even unconsciously, they really, things can go very differently because we're just not showing up that same way anymore.
That's a
So,
good point. I'm gonna just interject a point that you just made. It's great when I think people, and Denise, tell me if you agree with me, but people will realize that they can no longer f with you, and pardon my language, but they can no longer screw you around because you've got more confidence. You're totally just you're vibrating in a different way, and the people that used to take advantage or did things like that, they'll know they can't do that anymore. They'll get that feeling. So it's a really cool thing.
yeah, absolutely. So a little change of a question, but there's a question, and we get this question a lot. And I have to tell you, there's so many questions. I want to say so many things. We could probably go on for 2, 3 more hours. As I went into the question, I saw this one right there, and I just have to say it because it's such an important message. The question was, um, or the comment question, I'm not looking at it exactly, was that, people will say the only way to heal using psilocybin magic mushrooms is you have to take a heroic dose. Now, for those of you who want to know what a heroic dose, by the way, all the graphs and charts that say this is a microdose, you'll see them like this or different, ways of a graphic. Be careful with those graphics because some of them say, oh, 100 milligrams to 500 milligrams, that's 0.100 or 0.500 milligrams is a microdose. Well, not necessarily. I could take 200 milligrams of a certain variant, a stronger type of mushroom, and it can be the equivalent of maybe a gram. So everybody's different. You can't go by those charts necessarily. So know, a little bit, and we can say more about that on another time. But when we talk about a heroic dose, that's the complete opposite end of a microdose. A heroic dose is you're going to have what they call ego death. You're almost not going to feel like you're alive. You won't know who you are necessarily. You might not have a sense of I'm a being and the trees are there. You kind of lose yourself. And I am very cautious about recommending that to anyone. I know lots of people do it and they're fine with it. And that's, anybody's business. But it is just not true that you have to take a heroic or even a high dose, a bigger doses to, get closer and closer. That's just misinformation. So if you've done that, if you know people that have done that and they're fine and they're happy, I'm not, that's fine. But it is absolutely false information that the only way to heal is to take a high dose, and especially that heroic dose. That's where things can get really dangerous. People can have terrifying experiences and have anxiety. I have had to work with people that have done that and come to me and been like, I thought that was the only way to heal. And we're rewiring now that they've had that experience. I myself will never take a high, I don't even think I'd take a macro dose, never mind a heroic dose. It is contraindicated for someone like myself, my history, my trauma. It is absolutely not going to serve me. And here's the thing, the microdosing has totally served me. The trauma, the residual, all that was happening for me that I had thought I healed so much, and I did. Once I started microdosing a few years ago, I realized, wow, there was really a lot better. It's so much better. I had no idea how much better it could be because I really didn't feel really like that, anxious or trauma. I didn't feel like the PTSD was really there anymore. But boy, did it upgrade things even further. And I have only microdosed. I've taken maybe little larger, sometimes microdoses, some stronger variants, but I will never take a higher dose. I will never macro dose, and I will never take a heroic dose because it is absolutely contraindicated for many people, and many people who are looking to heal from psychological issues. It's contraindicated.
It's downright dangerous advice for somebody. And again, I'm not against heroic doses, and I'm not against larger doses. I've taken larger doses, nothing heroic, nothing in the 5 gram range, but I've taken larger doses. But for somebody, for like some guru out there to say the only way for you to be cured, you've got to take a heroic dose, which is generally in the 5 gram range, that is downright not only dangerous advice, it's not true. And the reason I can tell you it's not true, you're looking at 2 people tonight that are your hosts, that are your moderators, that have mainly fixed themselves through microdosing. So if somebody says to you, microdosing doesn't work, um, I will vehemently disagree with him. It's just that's wrong information. So please be very, very careful about that. Um, I've got a question here. I promised this person I would try to answer it on the show because he was kind enough to actually email it in advance of the show and said, could you please answer this on the show? So I'm going to do my very best. It's from Vern. And I'm going to go ahead and shorten this a little bit because it's a little bit of a long email, but he's a regular podcast listener. Thanks, Vern. Thanks so much for being a listener. We really appreciate that. Um, I've got chronic treatment resistant depression and anxiety. He's been microdosing. He's using golden teachers, which is a very typical strain for microdosing. It's I mentioned earlier psilocybe cubensis. It's one of the strains of psilocybe cubensis. He's been using a protocol which he's been taking 4-week breaks in between cycles. He says he hasn't found a sweet spot yet, but he says he's got 3 questions. Um, in so okay, let me go back because I don't want to miss anything here at all. This time he started at 100 milligrams, upping by 50 milligrams every 3 days, and now he's up to 350 milligrams, which is a little bit. It's still a microdose, but it's a little bit on the high end of a microdose. Nothing wrong with that, but it's a high end of a microdose. He still says he's noticing no effects. So he has 3 questions in terms of upping the dose. How high can you safely go? What's considered the upper limit of a microdose, and should I switch to a more potent strain? Well, generally a microdose is, again, just a general range is 50 milligrams. You can go lower, but it's probably not going to do much. 50 milligrams, which is 0.0, it's 0.05 grams, up to about 500 milligrams, which is the high end of a microdose. That's 0.5 grams. That's a half a gram. And we're in between is considered a microdose. Vern, what I'm going to say to you is, I know you're doing this protocol. It's by the Fadiman protocol, taking 4 weeks off. I think that's your problem. I would never. Why would I look? James Fadiman knows a lot more about mushrooms than I do. He's been around for a long time, and he is a true expert. I'm not uh, saying anything bad about his knowledge because he knows more than I do. However, from my experience, taking 4 weeks off when you're still trying to find the sweet spot and still trying to figure out how to feel better from depression, anxiety, to me that's not going to work. You've got to use a protocol where you're going roughly, and again, rough numbers, 4 or 5 days on, and then maybe just a couple days off, and then repeating that 4 or 5 days on again, and then maybe 2 days off. But taking 4 weeks off, I think you're losing everything that you've gained, and I don't see that working in my mind, in my opinion. And you're obviously saying it's not working for you, so I would go with a protocol. I don't think you have to switch strains. I don't think you have to go with a stronger strain. I think you just need to do it more often. Again, 4 to 5 days on, 2 days off. Denise, if you want to add anything to that that you think I may have missed, feel free.
Yeah. I agree. Not every protocol is right for everybody. Like we know that, but I agree, Dr. Dave, that that protocol of always take dose for a month, take a month off, dose for a month, take a month off. Again, it's if somebody's doing that and it's fine and they feel like it's working and helpful, that's fine. And we're not trying to convince anybody to do it differently. However, if somebody is feeling like, I don't really think it's working, I agree, Dr. Dave, that is likely the problem. When I first started microdosing, many, now several years ago, I started that way where it was like, okay, I'm going to do I didn't want to dose while I was working. So for me, my protocol was like dose, wait a few days, dose again, or dose like 2, 3 days in a row, like on a long weekend kind of a situation. And I did that for a month. And then because I didn't know as much back then years ago, I was going to then take the 4 weeks off. So I took the first week off and I thought, okay. But then by the second week, I thought, I just feel like I don't want to wait that long. So I sort of intuitively started dosing again. And now I've been doing that for 3 years almost. And it does not build up tolerance. Unlike what people say, it does not cause the problems, that misinformation that's out there. So, if it's working for you, great. But to Vern's question, that probably is the problem. Like you don't have to take those breaks, and you're on your journey and you're rewiring. Keep going.
Yeah. Let's I'll tell you guys, we've got a little bit of a dilemma. I got to tell you, because we promised you we would try to do this and make it 1 hour, and you probably have commitments depending on what time zone you're in. You might be going to dinner, you might be going to bed, depending on where you are. So we want to really try to respect the time that we said we're going to try to stay to. However, I know Dr. Denise and I could probably stay here all night and have fun and answer every single question of yours, but I just don't think it's fair to everybody that has things to do. So I think I saw one that I really would like to answer, and I can answer it real quickly. Amber, is microdosing a lifetime deal? It's a great question, because people say it rewires your brain, and so you should only have to do it a certain amount of time, and then everything's rewired and everything's fixed. And so that's kind of true, yes. However, my answer to your question, is it a lifetime deal? I don't know. I don't know. And the reason I say I don't know is because I'll just give you a tiny, tiny bit of my history. I started off, it started working fairly quickly for me. I started feeling better really quickly. But as I kept microdosing, I felt better and better and better. And um, after 1 year, I could have stopped. I could have said, "Okay, I'm cured. I'm done. I'm all good." But I kept going, and so the second year, the mushrooms, like I said earlier in the show, pointed me in a different direction and started teaching me other things, about more about kindness and spirituality and understanding a little bit more about life and things like that. And then in the third year, if I would have stopped, I don't think I would have had the benefit that I'm getting now about with my physical health. So I want to say that you don't have to do it forever, but I also want to say that I'm going to keep going. Right now I've got no plans to stop, because again, there's no harm. I'm enjoying it. It's helping me. I'm feeling better and better every month and every year when I'm doing it. So why would I want to stop? That's the best answer I can give you. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, and I'll add that unlike we talked about the pharmaceuticals, it is something you have to take. That as soon as you stop taking, an antidepressant, an anti-anxiety agent, even some, pain medication, you pretty much the symptoms are going to come right back. So with microdosing mushrooms, it's not going to come right back. It doesn't work that way because whatever healing you have is permanent, And it's just a matter of building upon that. Do you want more? Do you want to heal? You feel better. I feel so much better compared to the first time I started microdosing. And yet at this point, I intuitively dose. I use it in all different ways for all different reasons. Like I purposely took a dose this morning because I was going to that, sound bath, Reiki healing. And I just wanted to really have every cell in my body work with all of that and kind of harness all of that together. So it's healing. It's not for recreation. It's for healing. And I just feel like I eat well, I take care of myself, I exercise. I'm never going to stop that. So why would I plan to stop microdosing? But you don't have to. You can stop and be fine with it and be done and never do it again. And you'll retain whatever rewiring and healing has occurred. So that's a really good question. So
If it's okay,
we
Denise, I'm going to answer Lisa's question really
yeah.
quick. He asked a really good question. What are some reasons? What are some ways that you know if you found your sweet spot? Um, Quickest answer, and I think the most accurate answer is Lisa. You will know. You will definitely know when you reach your sweet spot, and you will just feel it. And I can't again on this webinar probably can't go into it deeper than that, but you'll know it. You'll know it. You'll know the answer to that. Thanks for asking that question, Denise. Let's. I know you've got a gift that we're going to be giving people for being on this webinar. It's a really cool thing. Is I just helped you work on it a little while ago. It was great, and also, we want to also stick around for a couple minutes too, because one of the most common questions that we are asked for somebody that's brand new to this, that basically this webinar is your first experience and even learning about this, or maybe you know a little bit but you're just not, you want some more information. And a very common question is, can I do this all on my own or do I need help? So we're going to actually answer that question for you after Denise gives you that, tells you a little bit about the gift. And I'm going to go ahead and as you're doing that, Denise, I'm going to copy a link and see if I can do this while you're talking. So go ahead,
Yeah.
talk a little
Yeah.
bit about the gift we're giving.
Good. Thank you so much for copying that in.
I'm
And
trying.
so at
I'm
the
trying.
very beginning, and I have to say, just about everybody who was here in the beginning is still here. I appreciate now. I know we're a couple minutes after the hour. So we want to really give you all those important links and information right now. First of all, this is recorded. If for some reason people had to go and that you'll be able to watch the recording or you want to review what was said. So we did talk about the gift, and the gift is, and somehow Dr. Dave's going to have it in here. So you'll be able to what we did was we recorded a guided meditation, and so that's the gift, and it's a very powerful. It's a very short. It's like 5 minute meditation, but it's something you can use repeatedly, and it also just will help kind of pull together some of the wisdom that we talked about tonight. Some of the oh, there it is.
It
So it's
worked
on
great.
YouTube.
It's
It's
on there.
there. I
It's in,
see.
it's in the
I
chat
see
box.
it. That is the chat, right? Okay. On my screen, it kind of shows up and then it goes away. So you have to open the chat to see that. But if you click on that link, that will bring you to YouTube. It's a YouTube link, and like I said, it's about a 5 minute meditation. It's me providing the meditation. I do guided meditations as part of my work as a psychologist, and then Dr. Dave, obviously orchestrated it, produced it, put in the music, and it really is a very helpful kind of meditation, regardless of whether you're microdosing or not. So we wanted to give that to you, but it will really also, since everyone showed up here, obviously there's an interest, and this will just sort of take that a little bit further. So, we really appreciate you being here, and that's one of the ways that we're showing you that.
I want to say before you talk a little bit about the very common question that we get is, can I do this all on my own, or can I get help? Do I need help? Tell us about that. Before you do that, I just want to say that Denise, and I know you agree with me, I am feeling so much energy from our nakama tonight. I mean, you guys are asking great questions. I feel you. You're the chat thing at the beginning when you said like where you're from. We love you guys, and we want to do this. If it's okay with you, we'd like to do this on a more regular basis, maybe once a month, because this webinar tonight sparked so many ideas and answers to questions and so many more things that we can talk about we're not finished. And again, I really apologize to those of you that ask questions and we just weren't able to get to them, because we'd be here till, well, in my time zone, we'd be here till 8 o'clock tonight. Your time zone, maybe even later, wherever you are. But, and we just, it's not fair to everybody, but we want to come back and do more of this, and just hang out with you guys in an informal setting and be with you and answer all your questions, and do everything we can to help you. So again, this is our first one. We didn't know what to expect. But we had a lot of people come on here for sure, and I just want to say I feel your energy. And Denise, go ahead and let's answer that final question that people have. Like, can I do this on my own, or my situation is a little bit more complex than just using microdosing magic mushrooms. I need more help. I've got a lot of questions. What can I do? So we do have the answer for you.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And it's sort of like yes and no kind of answer here. Sorry to, as a psychologist, I get accused of like, you always answer a question with another question, you're not clear. So we're trying to be clear. A lot of people are microdosing on their own. They listen to Dr. Dave's podcast. They come to webinars like this. Dr. Dave and I have done podcasts together. There's, they're reading things. And it's sort of going well. A lot of times people need more input. They want to run more complicated situations by, there's this particular medicine they're on, or this kind of situation that they're dealing with, or we run into this a lot, which is someone's been microdosing and doing just fine, but all of a sudden they're aware of like so much new psychological issues, and they don't know what to do with it, and they're having dreams. We know dreams can become more intense and more frequent, and they don't know what to do with them. So we always ask people to reach out to us for questions. Dr. Dave is very accessible. I'm very accessible by email. There's all of the, ways to reach us, as everyone knows. We have, though, actually put together a program where you can work with us. It's the two of us together, and it's a 10-week, very intensive program. It is for someone who, it's not for everybody. It's for a very small number of people, actually. We will send you that information if you're interested. And it is really an intensive program. It's going to review your questions, as well as if somebody's very experienced, but they really want to delve deeper into things. They want a little more guidance, because you're getting the expertise of the using the psilocybin alongside with the expertise in the psychological, and really harnessing those two kind of components and so much more. So that is the way to work with us. If you want to work with us directly, there's lots of ways to get input and reach out to us, of course. The private Facebook group, certainly emailing us. So we're here for you. And yet, if you really want to dig in, there is that microdosing 10-week program that we have people going through that are, it's bigger than I could have ever imagined. The amount of change and healing, it's beyond what I could have ever imagined it to be. So that's available to you as well.
Because I get, and I'm sure you do too, Denise. I get a lot of emails from you guys, and messages on Facebook asking me questions, and some of the questions appear to be like, "Can you just answer this simple question for me?" Like I've got, and I won't go into the questions, but but a question is not necessarily simple. A lot of times, if I give one answer, I need to know, we need to know actually more about your situation. Like, tell me more. What's going on? How do you feel today? And there a lot of questions come up. So it's generally not really simple to, if you're having a little bit of a tough time getting this to work. It's not the simplest thing in the world just to answer quickly on email. It just doesn't really work. And I try to avoid that as much as possible, because typically if I feel somebody needs more help than just a quick email response, I will say, look, we can work one-on-one together. And we've got this program, and it's actually just started the beginning of this year. And as Denise just said, we've got people going through it now. Some of them who are on this broadcast right now. We keep everything totally confidential, so we will never reveal names of anybody. But I feel they're having incredible success, and we will work with them, and we'll do whatever it takes to get them to feel the way they want to feel. We ask them questions at the very beginning. How do you want to feel next month? How do you want to feel in 6 months? Where do you want to be in a year? We ask the really deep questions, and we work alongside with them to get them to where they want to be. So again, it's not for everybody. it does cost money. There is a fee involved. It's not free. As you'll see, if you do get into it, we take a tremendous amount of our time and work one-on-one with you and listen to everything you say, and we're always available for you as well. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, what I'll do, Denise, how about if I'll post, we have a video that explains, it's like a
Yeah.
10-minute video.
Yeah.
I can
In
also
fact,
I can also
there were
post it here.
several, yeah, sorry. There
That's
are
okay.
several, yeah, we definitely wanna have if for some reason you're not seeing how to access that information, there's a very we did a really clear short video about what's in the program, all the details, everything you would need to know. If for some reason that is not coming through in this information, Dr. Dave's putting it up there, just reach out to us. Just reach out to one of us. We'll send you that information. We'll answer any questions. We're very transparent about we want to be there and be helpful. And as Dr. Dave just said, it's very one-on-one and it's confidential. No one in the program knows anybody else in the program because you're never in a group. You're never on a call with anybody. There's no mass emails. There's no anything. So it is really like you are working with me, with Dr. Dave, and it's just you because it is. That is how it is. That's what's very unique. There are certainly microdosing programs where you can take like a class or go be in a program of some sort, and it's whatever it is, and your time. And I'm not saying they're very useful, but they're not specifically looking at your particular situation. And then, what we do is we're constantly giving feedback. We're in touch all the time. We're asking you to come on calls. We maybe bother you a little bit too much because we're asking people like, come on, let's do a call or we want feedback. And so we're there and yet you can do it at your own pace. And it really is very specifically curated and designed for you, even though there's program information and you get videos and, all kinds of worksheets and different things to do. We also take it and we really kind of curate it for you. We tailor it for you in the moment. So, because it's a dynamic process, somebody starts microdosing, suddenly they're having a dream. Well, that opens something else, or they're meditating and they realize something else. And what do I do with that? Or, like, I don't know, my dose is this, or I don't know how I feel. So, you can reach out to us immediately and get an answer. So it's a very one-on-one and it's dynamic, as in it's evolving and it's, kind of based on what's happening for you. And then we kind of take that next step with you.
And yeah, and like I said at the beginning of this little segment, it does cost money. There's a fee for this, but when you see what you get for this fee and it's life changing, I mean, you got to think about one thing: like if you're not feeling right every day, how much is your life worth? Is your life worth? Is it worth a little bit of money to pay now and feel better for the rest of it? I mean, in my opinion, I think it is. And again, if you're microdosing and everything's working fine, you're feeling great, then you don't need this at all, unless you want to hang out with us and talk to us. But well, that's fine. That's fine. We're pretty particular about who we take. We don't just take anybody. We have to feel that are on the same wavelength, and that we can work well together. But I think most of you probably are. But again, it's not really about, you came to this webinar today to learn about microdosing, about mushrooms and how to do it, but it's not really about microdosing. What you want to do is you want to feel better. I think you're here because you want to feel better every single day, like I'm doing right now, every day without exception. I mean, of course, there are situations we get into that, life is life and things are still going to happen, but it's the way we approach it now and the way we feel every single day. If you want to feel like this and you feel like you need some help getting there, we are here for you and we will become your, not that we're not already, because I said we are Nakama. We are one big tribe and family, but we will be even more of a family. You will feel like you can get us on the phone or text us basically whenever you want, and we'll take care of you because it's that type of program. We really, really do care about you, and we want you to get where you want to be, and it's different for everybody. So that's why it's individualized, like Denise said. It's curated for each individual. It's not a cookie cutter solution. Nothing in life is a cookie cutter solution as far as I'm concerned. So watch the video if you like. You can send us an email if you're sold on that right now. If you just send one of us an email and say I'm in, then we'll take it to the next step. Next step is just fill out a little application where we ask you some pointed questions about you. Okay, we're gonna wrap it. I'll just say again, like I said a little while ago, I feel the vibe here. I feel the family. I feel your energy. I love you guys. I say that on the end of every podcast, and when I say it, like I always say, I'm not just saying that. I don't have to say that if I don't want to. I really feel the energy. And Katie saying thank you. This is very well and very informative. Teresa, um, all of you. I just happen to see those two pop on the screen in front of me, but every single one of you that's here to spend time with us, we love you. And I'm so glad you're here. And we're going to make this available to you. We'll make sure you get the link. And we also, since, I mean, what do you think? Do you write in the chat box right now, if you have a second, do you want us to do more of these on a regular basis? Yes or no? Write it in the chat box, because if we get enough yeses, we are going to start to do this on a regular. There we go. On a regular. That was
A lot
quick.
of yeses. A lot of yeses. Yeah. There are some people that are very active in the Facebook group. I know that they follow the podcast, and there are people actually that are in the current program, Dr. Dave, that are saying yes, they want to do more of these, which is great. And I just love that, people just come on, and I'm just so grateful,
I
and
I I
I
try to
definitely feel
keep
that
yeah,
energy.
I try to keep you guys know I try to keep my podcast as clean as possible, because one time I got a complaint, like a woman was driving in the car with her son or little kid listening to the podcast, and I think I said the F word, and
Mm.
hey, can you please be careful, I was with my son. And I get it, but if it's okay, if I have your permission, I'm going to say tonight, you guys are fucking awesome. I feel such good energy from you, and I just had to say it. When you say it, you say it. So it's okay. Um, so I'll leave it at that. Love you guys so much. Denise, final words from you, and then we'll say goodbye, and we'll make the video available. And we will send you a link. You'll get a link for the email. Oh, by the way, before I turn it over to you, Denise, we spoke about this before we went live, and we said if people want this, if they want more of this, can we do next month, March 28th? It's also a Thursday, same time. So March 28th, 7 o'clock Eastern. That's our tentative date. Put it on your calendar now. We're gonna build on each one and make each one of these bigger and better than the previous. I promise you guys, we're gonna do it for you. So March 28th, 7 p.m. Eastern is our tentative time. Denise, final words from you.
I just think that's great. And yes, the once a month, and if people can't, there were a lot of people who registered for tonight who couldn't be here. They're in England or they're working or something. It was just not possible. But the recording is there, and reach out to us anytime. Email, lots of ways to reach us. So we're here for you. So I really appreciate Dr. Dave taking the time and all of you being here. We still have so many people that are here that stayed on 17, 18 minutes past the hour here. So that's really amazing. Thank you all so much.